Flexus is a JV, like all good JVs, between Volvo, CMA and Renault. Mm-hmm. And what they've decided to do is produce urban delivery vehicles that are EVs. And this is it. Taxing us into oblivion. And came up with some great ideas. And what were those good ideas, Peggy?
That's got to stop.
I'm not going to get into slagging people off, given my background, but Connected Kerb basically makes slow shit chargers where you basically convert the curbstone into a charger. 6 months ago, they came in and said, we're going to build 1.5 million houses. They haven't built a single house. That little weasel man, right? If you like what we do, press the bell, subscribe. It will help Peggy keep his job.
Fucking hell.
Mace, you got a story.
Yeah, it's a new Tesla Model Y.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why is the question? Hello and welcome to the latest edition of VoltsMonster, and on today's show we've got some interesting stories. We've, funnily enough, got Lego Head. And what has she been bringing to the party? To balance that out, we've got 2 stories with GB News before we get accused of being far right. We've also got 2 stories from GigaWallet, because apparently people are making their views of Teslas based on his political leanings. Today we have Peggy.
Go on. So for a bit of context.
I don't know that we need context. But we got Dog and we got Mace. And what have you been up to?
Yeah, nothing interesting actually.
You haven't been up to anything interesting? You haven't been building your new car?
Yeah, I've stopped it for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is done, everything is running. Just to get the interior parts done.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, then electricals, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you've been doing anything?
Getting slightly fatter.
Well, that is a daily occurrence, isn't it? So, we've got a few stories today.
We do.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Whose are we starting with?
Before we go into stories, I'm just curious, have we got any letters?
We don't have any letters.
Again?
We still don't have any.
What, 7, 8 episodes now?
I know, it's not good.
So this is a public announcement. If you would like to write into us and send us a story
Of how you were caught out in an EV, or what you did in an EV, or something interesting in an EV. You know, did you go into a car dealership, be so offended that you punched a bloke in the face?
Yeah.
That kind of
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, we like that sort of thing. If you like what we do, subscribe, ring the bell, do us a favour. You know, it is important to us, even if you tell us that we're a bunch of dickheads.
Right. Lego Head.
So we've got Lego Head, and if you're foreign, you won't necessarily know that that's Rachel Reeves, our Chancellor, who, funnily enough, has the same title as the mass murdering bastard from Germany. So, you know, like in Lego, you pull their hair off. They come in different shapes. Well, hers looks like it's been put on.
Yeah.
It's not like Angela Rayner's, which is all sort of like that. And she thinks she's cool, right? Lego Head knows she's not cool.
It's a bit like Lord Farquaad's.
Yes, it is. And obviously Keir Starmer is clearly Shrek, because he talks like Zippy. He goes, rah, rah, rah.
I don't know where I heard it, but I remember someone referencing Keir Starmer as a manager from Asda. And he has the kind of appearance of an Asda manager.
We're obviously going to get sued by Asda for what I'm about to say. The problem with Asda is the people that shop there. But fundamentally, it has some of the worst branding of any business that I could mention. So it's in an awful shade of green that basically is like green screen colour.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And then it goes a whole step worse than that. So it was always promoted on the basis that it was cheap, not that it was good. Right? So my perception of Asda is that everything in there should be cheap. But it's not cheap.
Not anymore.
It's just shit. Horrible car parks, horrible stores, full of chavs. It's like Lidl and Aldi on steroids, but not cheap.
Yeah.
They don't have
I shop
very.
at Asta, by the way. So every time. Yeah.
But you're Indian, so you like the colour greens. That's probably why you're attracted.
Maybe it's like I think it's all the Tesco's and Lidl near by me is just small.
Well, the problem is, obviously, you live in Torquay.
Yeah.
There isn't a Tesco's.
Yeah, there's Tesco Express.
Well, there's
small,
Expresses,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But there isn't a proper
Yeah,
Tesco's. You have to go to Newton Abbot.
Yeah.
So your alternative to Asda is Lidl or Aldi,
Yeah.
which, unless you want to buy the same 4 ingredients every time you go shopping, is of no use to anyone. In any subject, have you noticed that? You go in there, you can only ever buy 4 things. So you can buy 4 flavours of rice, or 4 cuts of meat, or 4 types of chips. So you can only have so many sort of mixtures of those things.
I feel like we're digressing.
We are digressing.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, back to communism.
yeah, back to communism and
Yeah.
Rachel Reeves. So Rachel Reeves made a massive statement yesterday, appearing to be optimistic about the UK after basically talking the whole country down for 6 months, taxing us into oblivion, and came up with some great ideas. And what were those good ideas, Peggy?
That's got to stop. Fucking hell. So one of the investments is £65 million into the EV infrastructure for the UK, and they've chosen Connected Kerb.
Yeah.
not
So
actually that much
they've
money, though, is
decided
it?
once again to invest in one company,
One company.
right? So it's the same company that Aviva invested into. And do you know why I think they've invested?
Why?
Because they want access to Aviva's pension funds, which are some of the biggest in the world. Because they want money for infrastructure investment, and they're trying to change the law so that pension funds can invest in things. So don't you think it's surprising, of all of the EV companies in the world, they chose the only one that's invested in by a pension fund?
That is quite...
Convenient.
Right? The next thing is it's Connected Kerb, which basically are... I'm not going to get into slagging people off, given my background, but Connected Kerb basically makes slow shit chargers where you basically convert the curbstone into a charger. She's claiming she's going to install 40,000 chargers or something. That is ludicrous. It's basically 40,000 sockets for very slow charging, that unless you've got 12 hours for your car to charge, well, actually 20 hours for your car to charge, trust me, they're about as much use as a chocolate teapot, because that's just not how people use them. And in Oxford, where they've got similar technology, the literally running battles between residents over who's parking outside each other's houses, because people naturally park outside their own house. As soon as you put EV chargers in like that, what happens is people start parking outside other people's houses, right? And of course, the street is made up of cars that are EVs and cars that are not EVs. You then also have multiple trip hazards because the socket isn't necessarily near the car, so you end up with a cable running across the pavement or along the pavement. Six months ago, they came in and said, we're going to build 1.5 million houses. They haven't built a single house, right? What did you say to me earlier on? They're going to build the 3rd runway at Heathrow for growth in the economy, which will arrive in about 2050.
Yep. And yet...
Michael O'Leary's already come out and said she's a twat. I think that was a summary of his press conference.
Yeah. And yet, in order to do so, to build that 3rd runway, they have to demolish 750.
Well, it's not just 750 houses, and if you know the area, which I happen to know quite well, it's 750 houses, which is the whole of a village called Datchet, pretty much. It's also a waste-to-energy plant, so it actually gets rid of energy infrastructure. And do you know what they're planning to do with it?
What the...
Rebuild it somewhere else.
Right. That's a really good idea.
Right? Do you know who's come out and said it's a stupid idea?
Who's it?
Who hates London the most?
City Khan?
Yes. That little short little weasel man, right? Right? The man who hates London and Londoners, of which I am one, right? Okay. He's come out and gone, I'll fight it at all cost.
Amazing.
So Rachel Reeves, obviously Lego Head, has managed to sort of take the mood of the country, turn it round, and end up with it coming back at her with not only her own party thinking it's a bad idea, but Michael O'Leary, one of the people who actually has planes, albeit no Ryanair planes fly out of Heathrow because they're too cheap to pay for it, right? So, look, I don't like Michael O'Leary, but he knows more about running an airline than me, or Rachel Reeves, clearly. I haven't heard the boss of BA or Emirates or anyone else going on about it. They probably just want more slots, so will keep their mouths shut. But fundamentally, it needs a third runway. The problem is that Rachel Reeves is now talking about changing the planning process to get it pushed through. Obviously, you're used to seeing elephants.
Yeah, quite a lot.
Not in a safari park, in the street.
Yeah.
And eating your lunch.
How common is it, out of curiosity?
Really common. So we have temples, so it's a ritual to bring elephants.
So if you bring an elephant to the temple, you're like God.
Yeah, so there are families who has their own, elephants.
Own personal elephant.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to watch, the ritual in temples and all the festivals, and like it's not only one, not two, not three, 10.
Yeah, look, we know that Indians love a festival for everything.
Yeah.
You can have a holiday over everything.
Yeah.
I watched this video.
That's why you're not as big as China. Because you're always on holiday. The Chinese, at least they go to work.
I don't know about that, but yeah,
I remember seeing a video of elephants blocking a road somewhere. I don't know where it was, but they're actually quite clever in terms of they'll block the road until they get fed, and then they'll move out the way for the cars to go past.
Oh, that's
know.
That's the wild elephant. So we have domestic elephants as well.
So they know like, I'm going to block the road. And then they're going to give me some food, and then I'll let them buy. And they're bartering.
There are only certain countries in the world where you can have pet animals. So obviously, in India they have quite a lot of domestic elephants, which they ride and do shit with, right? And dance with, and whatever, right? Like, I used to have a client back in the day in Africa, and he had a pet hippo called Rover.
That's a good name for a hippo.
And it was quite terrifying when you arrived at his house. It was obviously in his garden, it was in his game reserve, right? And I also had another client who had a pet cheetah, which I woke up in bed with one night. That's not a euphemism. I woke up with it breathing on me, and I thought, that's a bit weird. I opened my eyes and there was a cheetah. So,
wow.
But there's also someone who's nearby who's got a hippo called Rosie, and there's another person who's got a hippo called something else. I forget what they're called. But and there's also a bloke who has a pet lion that lives in his house.
Yeah, I know about that one.
I think most of the Arabs they have a pet lion in their house. They just run around their house.
Yeah, and just eats your children. And obviously in the UK that's against the law because successive governments have made anything remotely risky against the law. So
I believe that's Rachel Reeves' fault as well.
That will be Rachel Reeves' fault. Yeah, because she is the product of it.
Next story.
Let's
go into Flexus.
Flexus, this is actually mine. Do you know who Flexus is?
No.
I don't think anyone does.
No.
Do you know what Flexus is?
No.
So Flexus is a JV, like all good JVs, between Volvo, CMA and Renault. And what they've decided to do is produce urban delivery vehicles that are EVs. And this is it.
Okay.
They don't actually look bad.
Bit questionable that long high one there, maybe on design.
Well, I think they're basically all exactly the same. They're just longer and squarer.
Pretty good. It's better than the Tesla ones actually. Much better.
It's sort of similar to the Beyond or Rivian ones.
That's a bit old-fashioned though.
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, sometimes you just need a van to be a box.
Yeah.
Like, having it a funny shape is not helpful.
Yeah.
You just want a square box to put stuff in. It's a bit like, you don't ever receive a box in the mail that's a funny shape, do you? You only you don't get a triangle as a box. But you do get a square box for everything. Even Amazon put like a washer in a huge square box because sending a washer is quite hard work. Because you get lost in the van and shit. So you put it in a big box, then they won't lose it, will they?
Mm.
So most of the time they're carrying very little weight. They're just carrying boxes of air.
Mm. Yeah.
They're the next generation of EV delivery vans, and they are what they are.
When they are coming out, is it?
Imminently, they've launched this.
2026.
These are the first promotional shots. They were launched this week.
Nice.
EV architecture is the Ampere stuff from Renault.
What's the range looking like on these?
Well, the range is less important because they're urban. So most urban vans don't do more than 100 miles a day. So
100% designed for cities. Yeah.
but they are designed literally to run around in urban spaces.
Who do you think?
Fast charging.
8% in less than 20 minutes.
There you go.
Who do you think the main competitors of them coming to UK or Europe?
I think the medium van segment is going to grow dramatically. The first people into it were people like SAIC with Maxus, and everyone else has been playing catch up ever since.
Yeah.
And I think the next you will see more composites, and because at the end of the day, you want to get the architecture of the vehicle to be as light as possible.
Mm.
Serial production mid-2026.
There you go. Having a strange shaped hole is never a good thing,
Fair enough.
as Peggy knows.
He's loving it, isn't he? Next story. Let's go to Ayusha's. Mace's.
Mace.
Mace.
You got a story.
Yeah, it's a new Tesla Model Y.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why is the question?
I mean, when you ask me, do you like it? I will say, compared to the old one, absolutely I like it. This one.
Mm.
Because I literally hated the old Model Ys.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's so weird, the shape of it, and
Yeah, it's quite weird.
it's
So we
friend.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, for me.
What, they all look the same?
No, when you look at in the front of the Model Y, it looks like a fish.
Yeah, the headlights. are
Yeah, it
pronounced
looks like a
more.
fish from a cartoon or something. I felt like that.
Well, we've had this discussion about Teslas before. It's basically they got a 5-year-old to draw a car
Yeah.
on the basis of if an alien arrived, what would
Yeah.
a car look like? So they produced the most generic car in history. Now they've decided that they need to make them more interesting because obviously people have got bored with them.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
what
they-
people want. People want generic, I think. People want.
No, people like you want generic. That's why you buy Audis.
Yeah, they've done some work.
But look how cheap it is in America. It's $31,000, which
Yeah.
is like 28 grand. It's 60 grand here.
Yeah, okay.
Why is that?
Because we get ripped off because of Lego Head.
Oh, right, of course.
Long-standing thing.
Cheers, look ahead.
But yeah, as you can see, you can get one for £250 a month in America. You'd struggle to get. Well, we have a Model Y.
Yeah.
Is it a Y?
Yeah, it's
Here's
a Y.
why.
So the Model Y costs us £1,000 a month,
Shit.
That's
and it is an absolute bag of shite. And I hate the thing.
Doesn't even have a price on the British one.
Yeah, of course it is.
They don't want to
Because they don't want you
advertise
to know. They don't want you to know how expensive it is. So it's
About
nearly
16.
20 grand more in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically double if you convert that to dollars, isn't it? That's over double.
Yeah.
So it'll be
So it's like about 60.
double the price. It's crazy.
So what is the other story in Tesla world and Gigawallet that we...
So yeah, we do have another story. This is my story, which is that Elon Musk is harming Tesla sales, predominantly in Britain, due to his new political stance. And
of supporting a perfectly sensible bloke like Trump.
well, that's right, and some of his choices of maybe doing a Nazi
He
salute.
didn't do a Nazi.
He knew
Yeah,
exactly
like,
what he was doing,
yeah.
and
It's
he's
not-
clever.
It's nothing like. Have
he
you
knew,
ever? Have you
he
ever
knew
watched?
what he
Have
knew
you
the
ever
screenshot.
Have you ever watched
It's
Nazi
predominant. I don't
propaganda?
think he's a Nazi by any chance, but I know that. Well, I'm pretty certain that he knew
Yeah,
what he was doing.
everything.
He
He was
knew.
gonna blow up.
He
on
knew
it.
that
Yeah.
he would get that. He would get that
Yeah.
screenshot. And it'd be everyone. It'd piss people off, and he would. It's fine. He doesn't give a shit.
So you walk into a room and you go, "Hello, that's Nazi, is it?"
No, I'm not saying
See,
he's a Nazi.
exactly.
I'm just saying that he knew what he was doing.
It's bollocks.
He knew what he was
Right.
doing, and that's fine.
But if
because
you're
he's being
right,
productive.
let me just put this into context.
Hmm.
Who is the biggest Nazi supporter of car manufacturing in history?
Who? Adolf Hitler.
No,
VW.
no. Actually, no,
BMWs.
no. Henry Ford.
Oh yeah.
Who got given a medal by Hitler?
Yeah.
Right? Henry Ford. You know when you see all these films of trucks German trucks rolling into places? What make were they?
Tell me.
They were Ford. They weren't Mercedes or BMW or anything like that.
Mm.
They were Ford. Who built the railway into Auschwitz?
Ford.
Well, not Ford, but it was built by the Americans with American steel,
Oh right. Okay. Yeah.
right? Quite knowingly, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right? If you look at a lot of those different people, do you wear Adidas?
Oh yeah.
No, Nazi. Look, you can't always deal with people you like, right? And not buying a Tesla. Well, if you're buying a Tesla, you're already a sort of communist because they're like cars that have had choice taken out of them, right? Because you can't, because they only come in about 4 colours.
So the people doesn't know what is e-fuel is. So they split water into hydrogen and oxygen and mix that hydrogen into carbon dioxide forming hydrocarbon, that similar as petrol.
Yes.
But
It's like making diamonds, isn't it?
yeah, so but they're claiming that it's more environment friendly than the combustion engines, and it can maybe
It's probably as environmentally friendly as owning an elephant.
yeah, I don't know about that, but they're claiming that they can, you know.
This is one of those things, because actually one of my business partners has invested in a company that makes HVO, which is like biodiesel. E-fuel is not biodiesel,
No.
but essentially what you're doing is you create a manufacturing process to bolt the different elements together to make a fuel. So the question is that really...
Yeah, that's what I'm
Is
asking.
it really green? There's a classic scenario which is kind of similar to this, which is called AdBlue. So if you run a diesel car, you know about AdBlue.
Yeah.
So AdBlue came about because the EU kept making Euro-numbered engines, and what they basically said was the particulates need to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then the Germans said NOx is really bad. And Gordon Brown said CO2 is really bad, right? So the UK's testing was all in CO2, and in Europe, and particularly Germany, it was all about NOx, which is nitrous oxide, right? So the EU decided that what we would do is, to get a Euro 6 car or truck, what you'd have to do is reduce the amount of NOx in the exhaust. The Italians came up with a brilliant idea. Do you know what that was?
No.
Is this AdBlue?
No, it wasn't AdBlue. The Italians went, you don't need AdBlue. We can get our trucks to be Euro 6. Much easier. How do you think they did it?
Don't know.
They pumped air into the exhaust. So the NOx as a percentage of the emissions were less.
Just by dispelling it.
So they just diluted them and put it out.
Yeah.
It's quite but anyway, the EU didn't fall for that trick and decided that AdBlue was the thing. Now AdBlue is basically made with ammonia, which you can only get from a couple of sources. One, you can make it, right, and it involves basically a chemical reaction to bond it together to make ammonia, or you collect pig piss, right? So you have to farm pigs to get them to wee, then the wee is collected, and then the ammonia is extracted from it, and then with AdBlue, right, if you didn't have it diluted, it goes like crystals, like salt. So you basically end up with like ammonia. When it dries out, it goes all salty. Like, so if you look at the top of your bleach bottle, which is mostly ammonia, you will see, right? So what water did they add to it? Distilled water. So to make AdBlue, you have to farm pigs or make ammonia. Then you have to boil tons and tons and tons of water, right? Distill it, which you then add to the ammonia. Then what you do is you make plastic bottles, which you then fill with AdBlue, right? So the plastic bottles comes from oil that's drilled out of the ground, transported halfway around the world, made into plastic, blown into the bottle, fill it with water and AdBlue, right? Then what you do is you then put that on a truck and then you send it to every shop in the world, and then the person who drives the diesel then goes into shop, buys the thing, makes their own car heavier by adding 5 or 10 litres of AdBlue to it, then takes the plastic bottle and goes, right? The EU thought that was greener than the NOx. I have never seen any explanation of how, or reasonable explanation of how AdBlue is better than not doing something. Because, and what the EU did was they went, oh, the tailpipe emissions have gone down. Apart from all the trucks that have been driving around delivering it everywhere, the oil tankers that have been driving all the way over the world, drilling holes in the ground, burning it off. Like, they totally ignored all the embodied environmental damage in the product, but it was to save something else. And I suspect e-fuels, and don't sue me, I think there's a similar question.
Yeah, the people backing e-fuels are Ferrari and Porsche, but they're claiming that the people buying their cars is because of the roaring sound of the engine.
Yeah.
And they have to keep it that way. So
look, at the end of the day, Porsche and Ferrari is a good example of they're cars you buy out of passion. And the problem with a lot of EVs is you go and buy them, as we've discussed, they're a bit shit. They're a bit like washing machines. And once they make cars that are interesting, like Renault 5, the new Renault 5 EV, a good example, awesome little car, the Alpine version of it, I'd buy tomorrow. So that's the, BMW have kind of worked it out with the Aceman, like with karting mode,
Yeah, there are a couple.
There's a few EVs out there that are really quite good and quite interesting. The rest are as dull as dishwater, and we want them to be great, don't we?
We do.
If you like what we do, press the bell, subscribe. It will help Peggy keep his job, and maybe someone will write in. Next story. So a few of the car manufacturers have been talking about new tech. Okay. This is a good example of it. It's basically that Stellantis reckons it can cut battery costs, and that's basically because they make the structure of the battery. So all of that has got the battery in it, and
oh look, sorry.
Geez, look, yeah, Asda.
Yeah, what are the chances? Sorry, Karen.
So does the battery go up and?
Basically, it's still in the same place effectively, but you make the structure of the battery so you don't have to build a separate battery pack, so it makes the thing cheaper to make.
It's built with the chassis.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe the weight distribution are like even, so it's get more range out of it. I don't know.
So overall, it improves the density of how much battery you can get in the car.
Oh, okay.
It's basically the long story. And they also use NMC batteries as opposed to lithium ion, which are they're not lighter, they're just a different technology, but you can charge them much quicker. So an NMC battery's charge discharge rate is like about 4, as opposed to a lithium ion, which is only 1, which is why
fucking hell.
What have we learned today? So we've learned that in India, you can have a relationship with not only an elephant, but unlike an elephant, you don't have to marry it.
Have to marry.
What, marry your elephant?
No, not marry my elephant.
Have you got an elephant? Is this what you're telling
Nah,
us?
I'm not the type.
I'll be really disappointed if we go there and we don't see an elephant.
You definitely see an elephant. I'll make that happen. Yeah.
Why you know why you like an elephant?
Although
James?
I don't. The funny thing with elephants.
The reason why you like an elephant is because you'll look at an elephant.
And every time you're face to face, you can take
Yeah, but
face to face.
saying that Indian elephants are smaller.
Are they?
Because you only seen
African elephants are fucking enormous things.
Yeah.
Particularly the male ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously in Africa you get jungle elephants, which are little, but like a proper African elephant, big ears and all that, they are big, whereas the Indian ones are a little bit smaller. So anyway, we've learned that Mace could have married an elephant but chose not to, but has chosen to marry a girl he's met once and seen once in 3 years. Is that fair?
No, I've been in a relationship like 9 years.
How old are you?
26.
15.
We've-
16.
We have also
16,
learned
17.
that Virgil likes to be pegged.
No, we haven't learned that. That's not a fact that we've learned. We've assumed, based on no evidence whatsoever.
We've also learned. What else have we also learned?
We've also learned that
we've learned that
the-
Stellantis is going to make cheap EVs.
Yeah. We've learned that.
We've learned that Peggy
fucking
can't
hell.
operate a computer.
We've also learned that. Fucking hell.
So on that note,
Yeah.
it's time to say Happy New Year to the Chinese. It's time to say bye from Mace,
Why?
that we've just learned he's got a girlfriend. Peggy, who knows he has a girlfriend. That is actually another point, actually.
Oh god, here we go.
Does that mean we have to go to Paynton when you marry your girlfriend, given we already live here?
No. No, we fucking don't. Fuck.
It's bye from Dog.
Goodbye.
It's bye from Peggy.
Yeah.
Mace has already said goodbye, so
Yeah.
it's bye from me. And Happy New Year. So there you go.
Okay.
Nice
That
fucking
was fun.
sponsors.